the gamble that defined a generation. I kept Horizon, or I kept Yellowstone in first position, but it needed to stay on course. Those are the words of a man who understands that in Hollywood, vision is often a violent pursuit. Dances with Wolves was one of the defining cinematic achievements of the 1990s, a sweeping, emotional epic that didn't just win over audiences, it conquered the Academy Awards. But behind the beautiful vistas and the haunting score, the production was a train wreck in slow motion. It burned through millions of dollars, pushed the cast to the physical brink, and drove investors into a state of panic. When the film was finally released, it triggered a wave of success that revived the Western genre, but it also invited severe backlash, accusations of betrayal, and a series of strange occurrences on set that have remained buried for decades. Perhaps most shocking is what was happening during the film's most intimate moments. What Mary McDonnell finally revealed about the romance scenes with Kevin Costner will change the way you see this movie forever. Welcome to Royal Time of Hollywood. Today, we are uncovering the grit, the mistakes, and the scandals of Dances with Wolves. The novel in the garage. The story of Dances with Wolves didn't start in a high-rise studio office. It started in a cramped garage. Screenwriter Michael Blake had a vision for a story about a Union soldier who finds his soul among the Lakota people. He tried to sell the script, but Hollywood laughed him out of the room. The Western was dead. The genre was considered box office poison. It was Kevin Costner, Blake's longtime friend, who gave him the tough love he needed. Costner told him, "Nobody is going to buy this as a script. Turn it into a novel first." Blake took that advice to heart. He wrote the novel while sleeping on friends' couches and, at his lowest point, living out of his car. He finished the manuscript in his vehicle, enduring over 30 rejections from publishers before a small house finally took a chance on it in 1988. When the book found an audience, Costner saw his opening. He walked into Orion Pictures and told them he wanted $20 million to direct a 3-hour Western where half the dialogue was in a native language. The executives looked at him like he was announcing his own career funeral. To the industry, this was Kevin's Gate, a reference to the infamous Heaven's Gate that had destroyed a studio a decade earlier. Costner was so determined that he forfeited his $3 million salary and signed a contract making him personally liable for any budget overruns. He was literally betting his entire fortune on a wolf and a dream. The weird casting logic. When we watch the film today, the cast feels perfect. But look closer, and the logic begins to crumble in fascinating ways. Consider the relationship between Mary McDonnell and Graham Greene. In the story, Kicking Bird Greene is the wise elder and adoptive father of Stands with a Fist McDonnell. On screen, the paternal bond is moving. However, in reality, Mary McDonnell was actually 2 months older than Graham Greene. The daughter was older than the father. The age gaps didn't make much more sense elsewhere. Tantu Cardinal, who played Kicking Bird's wife and McDonnell's mother, was only 2 years older than Mary. The production simply asked the audience to ignore the passage of time and biology, relying instead on the sheer power of the performances. Then there's the opening scene in the Civil War hospital. If you look at the doctors operating on the wounded lieutenant, you're looking at a family affair. One doctor is the film's producer, Jim Wilson. The other? Kevin Costner himself, hidden under heavy bandages, playing a cameo in his own directorial debut. Costner even brought his 6-year-old daughter, Annie, into the fray. She played the young Christine in the flashback where the Pawnee attack. The crew remembers it as a logistical nightmare because little Annie couldn't tell her left from her right. Every time Costner yelled, "Look left," she looked right. They eventually had to mirror the shots just to make it work. Nightmare on the Prairie. If the casting was strange, the filming was a war zone. South Dakota provided the beauty, but it also provided a brutal lesson in nature's indifference. The Buffalo Stampede is one of the most famous sequences in film history, but it nearly bankrupted the production. They rented a live herd of buffalo at $1,400 per animal per day. To keep them contained, they built miles of expensive fencing. Then, a massive South Dakota storm rolled in and leveled the fences. The herd vanished into the plains. Costner didn't call the office. He jumped on a horse and spent hours acting as a real-life wrangler to bring the cast back. To get the visceral shots of the stampede, the crew buried cameras in trenches so the buffalo would run over them. The plan worked too well. The buffalo crushed 4 state-of-the-art cameras, costing millions in equipment losses. Costner refused to move the cameras. He told the crew, "I want the audience to feel the ground shake." The weather was equally unforgiving. Temperatures swung from 100 degrees to 20 degrees in a single week. This led to massive continuity errors. You'll see scenes where the ground is a muddy swamp in one shot and bone-dry dust in the next. The crew was working 16-hour days, and many simply quit, unable to handle the General Costner's relentless pace. The language scandal. Costner wanted authenticity, so he hired a linguist to translate the script into Lakota. It was a noble goal, but it led to one of the most embarrassing mistakes in the film for native speakers. The linguist decided that the Lakota gendered grammar was too difficult for the actors to learn. He simplified it, essentially removing the masculine forms. When the film was released, Lakota speakers were stunned to hear fierce warriors like Wind in his hair speaking in the feminine form. To those who knew the language, the tough warriors sounded like schoolgirls. Doris Leader Charge, a Lakota professor who had a small role in the film, tried to help, but by then, much of the dialogue had already been recorded. It remains a bizarre asterisk on a film that tried so hard to be respectful. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to check out the other stories and shocking updates on our channel. We've covered many incredible celebrity journeys, tragic endings, and untold Hollywood secrets that you don't want to miss. Binge watch our previous videos to discover more surprising facts, emotional stories, and where your favorite stars are today. Your support helps us bring you more powerful content like this, so don't forget to explore, watch more, and stay tuned for the next video. Inconsistencies and magic props. Despite the Oscars, Dances with Wolves is riddled with production ghosts. Watch the scene where Dunbar hand feeds the wolf 2 socks. It's a beautiful moment of trust. But behind the scenes, the wolf actually bit the trainer's leg during a take. If you look closely at the background during the hand feeding, you can actually see the trainer's legs visible behind a rock, ready to pounce if the wolf turned aggressive again. Then there's the magic beef jerky. When Dunbar offers the meat to 2 socks, the jerky changes size, shape, and texture between every single cut. It's as if the meat is regenerating in Dunbar's hand. Perhaps the most famous oops moment happens during the river fight. A Pawnee warrior is lying dead in the water. As another character splashes past him, a massive wave hits the corpse right in the face. The dead warrior clearly flinches and blinks. The editors apparently hoped the audience was too distracted by the action to notice a dead man reacting to cold water. The betrayal accusations. The greatest controversy, however, happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Kevin Costner was hailed as a hero by the Lakota community, even being named an honorary member. But that goodwill soured in 1995. Costner and his brother Dan proposed building a $100 million luxury resort called the Dunbar on 630 acres of land in the Black Hills. The problem? The Black Hills are sacred to the Lakota Sioux, who maintain the land was stolen by the U.S. government in 1877. Tribal elders and activists were furious. They felt Costner had used their culture to win Oscars and was now using that fame to build a golf course on their ancestral graves. Activists began calling toxic waste proposals on native land Dances with Garbage, a bitter play on his film's title. The man who had been their champion was now, in their eyes, just another businessman looking to profit off their history. The truth about the romance. While the public scandals were messy, the private truth of the romance scenes between Kevin Costner and Mary McDonnell was surprisingly tender. Mary McDonnell has admitted she was terrified of the intimate scenes. The original script was much more explicit, involving nudity and movements she felt didn't fit the emotional weight of the characters. She went to Costner, not as her co-star, but as her director. She asked him to tone it down. She wanted the scene to be about the soul, not the body. Costner, to his credit, agreed immediately. He rewrote the blocking to ensure she felt safe and comfortable. This is why the scene is often cited as one of the most respectful and romantic in Western cinema. It wasn't forced, it was a collaboration of comfort. Despite the incredible chemistry that led many to believe they were dating, Mary remained happily married to her husband, Randall Mell, throughout the shoot. The magic was purely professional. The legacy of Kevin's Gate. Dances with Wolves changed Hollywood. It proved that the Western wasn't dead. It just needed a heart. It won 7 Oscars and made $420 million, proving that Kevin's Gate mockers wrong. But as we've seen today at Royal Time of Hollywood, the road to that success was paved with crushed buffalo, feminine-speaking warriors, and a director who was willing to lose his house to tell a story. It is a film of immense beauty and immense flaws, much like the history it tried to portray. What is your favorite scene from Dances with Wolves? Do you think the controversies overshadow the film's achievements? Let us know in the comments below. Before you head out, don't forget to like this video, click on the next video on your screen, and subscribe to Royal Time of Hollywood with the bell notification on.